It's transfer news galore. A lot of clubs are busy in the transfer window trying to, of course, improve their ranks and also replace players who have left for pastures new. Alejandro Garnacho is topping the list of transfers over the last couple of hours, maybe 24, 48 hours, really. And Aston Villa have agreed a deal with Chelsea to secure the services of Alejandro Garnacho, initially on a loan deal with a condition to buy, of course, mandatory as well. So Alejandro Garnacho has been heavily courted by Unai Emery and Aston Villa for some time now, and finally they have gotten their man. That's another big blow to Roma, who also lost Christensen Somerville to Al Hilal in a £55 million deal plus 5 million in add-ons. So Al Hilal have secured the services of the Dutch international, who gave the green light for a move and has flown to Saudi Arabia for a medical. So West Ham have lost Christensen Somerville to Al Hilal. Of course, it was an offer that was difficult to refuse. The Argentine Alejandro Garnacho is off to Aston Villa, as said before. So Aston Villa are looking to replace Morgan Rogers, even though it will be very difficult considering the fact that Morgan had a much better season than Alejandro Garnacho. But Alejandro is 22 and should not be written off just yet. Has played for mega clubs such as Manchester United and Chelsea in the past. So I am sure that Aston Villa will get the very best of Alejandro Garnacho. Aston Villa seem to love Manchester United players a lot, or ex-Manchester United players. Marcus Rashford was initially on loan there, and Jadon Sancho, of course, was there last season. They've also got the Iceman, Victor Lindelof, who plays in defense for them. The big news, which is not so good for Nigerian striker Tolu Arokodare, who won the Ebony Award for Best African Player in the Belgian League last year for Genk, has caused some controversy at Wolves as he refused to leave the training ground for Wolves to continue their training, which led to the new Wolves manager, Cesar Pexoto, cancelling training yesterday. Tolu Arokodare, who has 10 caps for Nigeria, scoring 2 goals, is set or has his eyes set for a move to Fiorentina to join the likes of David De Gea, but Wolves haven't given the green light yet. Of course, he arrived at Wolves from Genk last season for £24 million, but could manage only 3 goals in 33 league appearances for the Molineux outfit. Unfortunately, for Tolu Arokodare, things are not looking good for him. He wants to move to Fiorentina. Cesar Pexoto is doing everything possible to ensure that that move goes through the right channels, and nobody's going to force Wolves to sign part with Tolu Arokodare, but he wants to move. And even though his numbers weren't great last season, his goals return was pathetic. But Fiorentina, the Viola outfit, definitely see something in Tolu Arokodare. So hopefully they can sort things out and he can leave as quickly as possible. All right, so that's for the Nigerian international Tolu Arokodare. All right, so we've talked about Alejandro Garnacho, who has moved to Aston Villa initially on a loan deal. There will be more transfer news. Alhaji Bamba has left Monaco in a £34 million move to Newcastle, because that is confirmed. He will be having a medical and sign officially as a Newcastle player as quickly as possible. Liverpool have in their sights Bradley Barcola of PSG and Manes Akleuch of Monaco, and they will have it all to do to sign Akleuch because PSG heavily interested in him as well. So let us see where his next destination will be. They didn't have the chances to shine at the World Cup because, of course, France always stacked with the best players in the world, especially now that they have the likes of Michael Olise, Ousmane Dembele, and Kylian Mbappe. Will definitely find opportunities hard to come by in the French national scene, but that does not take anything away from his abilities, his capabilities, and his potential. So he is been courted by Liverpool. Hopefully, he will make the right decision concerning his career. So that's for Manis Cluj of AS Monaco. AS Monaco, a lot of players are heavily linked away from the principality, but Pogba is still there and captain there. Monaco recently in a friendly. So let us see how that develops for the French club, because they'll be looking for reinforcements and replacements now that they are letting some of their gifted players out of the club. All right. Guglielmo Vicario, who was the number one at White Hart Lane last season at the Tottenham Stadium. It was a topsy-turvy affair with him and the manager there at that time before Roberto De Zerbi took over at Tottenham, because it wasn't really good for Thomas Frank when he left Brentford and went to Tottenham. Of course, I had that bright managerial career at Brentford, but ultimately it wasn't to be at Tottenham. Replaced quickly by Roberto De Zerbi, and Roberto De Zerbi was responsible for them narrowly escaping relegation. So they are looking to build from scratch this team, and they have already recruited the likes of Sandro Tonali from Newcastle in £100 million deal package, £92.5 million initial offer, and initial fee, and £7.5 million in add-ons. They also got Matheus Fernandes from West Ham, as well as Van Herke from Brighton as well. So Tottenham have been very busy in the transfer market. They also do not want Guglielmo Vicario anymore. Of course, he's not in their plan, so he has been left out of Tottenham pre-season tour, as he's fully expected to leave the club this summer. All right, Barcelona remain confident to get our Cancelo deal done, with talks continue with Al Hilal. So talks will continue with Al Hilal, who have been busy themselves, having signed Chris Asensio Somerville from West Ham in a £55 million deal. All right, deal was not done weeks ago, but Barcelona are convinced to make it happen by the end of the window. While Cancelo, very not just lucky, he's also a very good player. Has played at Manchester City, Bayern Munich, and most recently Barcelona. So he's definitely got it in him. So the fact that some top clubs are always heavily interested means that he's definitely got what it takes to shine, and he's done very well. Remember, he created that first goal for Cristiano Ronaldo in the just concluded 2026 FIFA World Cup. All right, so that is for Cancelo and Barcelona. Sticking with Barcelona, they remain very confident that they can get someone else now that Atletico Madrid have closed the door to Julian Alvarez transfer. So they're looking for options. Of course, Karim Adeyemi will be officially announced today, but he's not Julian Alvarez, and he's not an out-and-out striker. With the departure of Robert Lewandowski to Vancouver Whitecaps, or to the Chicago Fire, I beg your pardon, it is now very important for Barcelona to get an out-and-out striker. Ferran Torres wants to leave as well. So when Juan Laporta was faced with that question, he deflected, saying they are here to see Karim Adeyemi's agent, Jorge Mendes. All right, Karim Adeyemi is a German international, even though Nigerians want so much to claim him. That he has a Nigerian or Yoruba name does not mean he is a Nigerian player. All right, so he's a German player and has been capped by Germany several times as well. So that's it. Marc Casado can still leave Barcelona this summer, with talks to follow with his agent Jorge Mendes. Jorge Mendes actually is an agent that has got big clients. He's got Cristiano Ronaldo, Jose Mourinho, so many clients, past and present, who are world beaters in their own right. Angel Gomez is also looking to for a new club as well. Remember, he has been at Lille. He has also been at Manchester United, rose through the ranks at Manchester United from the academy, alongside other players who haven't really found their feet at Manchester United. Angel Correa is going to River Plate from Atletico Madrid. The deal has been done for the former Atletico player to go back to River Plate. River Plate is a very big club. They've got the tradition. They've also got the likes of Marcelo Salas, Ariel Ortega as their former players. All right, so those are big names in the world of football, if you know your football. All right, Juan Laporta has also said that Lamine Yamal is an important piece of the Barcelona project. Of course, Lamine Yamal is a teenager alongside Pau Kubasi, 19-year-olds who are doing very, very well at Barcelona and for the Spanish national team. Pau Kubasi was the Young Player of the Year at the just concluded World Cup. They'll be looking to build on from there. Pau Kubasi might just be another legend following in the footsteps of Gerard Piqué and Carlos Puyol. All right, so that's for Barcelona. There will be the challenge is definitely different now that Jose Mourinho is the coach of Real Madrid. So El Clasico will definitely carry more weight. Of course, that's no disrespect to Xabi Alonso and Alvaro Arbeloa, but Jose Mourinho is a very big name in football and in management. One of the greatest managers of all time, going back to Real Madrid, is top news. And now he wants Rodri, but Florentino Perez hasn't given the green light on that transfer yet. Rodri is 30 years old and will be looking to make that transfer from Manchester City to Real Madrid. For Manchester City, they have extended the contract of Phil Foden and are talking to Jeremy Doku while preparing a new contract for the Belgian international, who did very, very well for Belgium in the last FIFA World Cup tournament. Quite good news for Manchester City under Enzo Maresca. Of course, we said the last time that Erling Haaland has decided to put all talks on hold over a potential transfer to any other club, as he's focused squarely on Manchester City. So that's good news for Manchester City and everyone associated with them. All right, so Manchester City, they have it all to do. Post Guardiola era, as Guardiola was there for 9 years, for 10 years, and did very, very well over for 1 decade, won so many titles, won the Champions League as well, even though he would have liked to have done better at Champions League level, but he did very well, won so many titles on offer for Manchester City. All right, so Manchester City have improved terms for Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku. It will be very, very good for them. All right, so Arsenal have lost out on Morgan Rogers, but they still have other players that they can sign. They've got that troubling news that William Saliba will be out for several months rehabilitating from that back injury. Has decided against doing back surgery or going under the knife for the surgery for his back. He has chosen to rehabilitate and rest, so he'll be out for a long period of time. That will give Arsenal some questions that they have to answer in defense, and now they have sounded out the likes of John Stones, who is a free agent after leaving Manchester City. Chelsea and Xabi Alonso also interested because their defense is shaky, and they are also looking to sign Maxence Lacroix from Crystal Palace. All right, so that's for Chelsea. Chelsea, let's not forget, have already signed Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa for £117 million, a British record deal. That deal eclipsed the one Manchester City signed Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest for. That was £116 million, and that was the British record transfer after breaking the Philip Caicedo transfer from Brighton to Chelsea as well. So Chelsea, they know how to splash the cash when they need their best players. All right, so all documents are signed for Valentin Bako to join Chelsea from Strasbourg after the agreement done since May. The Argentinian will soon be announced as the new Chelsea player and welcomed by Xavi Alonso. So 100% confirmed for that. We talked about William Saliba before. St. Mirren have also agreed a deal to sign Ghana under 20 international Abdul Hakim Sulemana. So Abdul Hakim Sulemana is going to Scotland to sign for St. Mirren. All right. So Swansea have completed all documents today to yesterday to sign Johan Opoku as the new winger from Zulte Waregem. Agreement at 6.5 million euros, which is a decent buy for Swansea. Let's not forget Swansea City in the Premier League. They used to have Wayne Routledge, Michu, some very good players under Brendan Rodgers. Remember Brendan Rodgers? He was also at Liverpool. Could have won the Premier League if not that Liverpool had that 3-3 draw at Selhurst Park with Crystal Palace that gave Manchester City the opportunity to win it, and they didn't look back. Inspired by Yaya Toure, they actually won that Premier League. Liverpool firing on all cylinders that season with Daniel Sturridge and Luis Suarez in attack. So it was a very good partnership for them, which almost led to a Premier League conquest. But unfortunately for them, they were lackluster in that Selhurst Park draw, where they led 3-0 and allowed Dwight Gale and Crystal Palace to come back to draw 3-3. That was a whole 12 years ago, but I'm sure it will still sting Liverpool and its fans. All right, Casemiro has joined Inter Miami on a free transfer, or his favorite number 5 given to him. So he's going to don jersey number 5 at Inter Miami. He's going to join Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez, the gunslinger. Of course, not many players can say that they have played with two of the greatest players of all time in their careers. Casemiro is definitely one of them, as he will be playing alongside Lionel Messi at Inter Miami after previously playing alongside Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United and Real Madrid more prominently. All right, so Casemiro joins the likes of Thomas Muller, Antoine Griezmann, Robert Lewandowski, Son Heung-min, and other players at the Major League Soccer. In times past, the likes of David Beckham, Thierry Henry, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Carlos Vela have gone to the MLS, so it's not new. So the MLS attracting some of these players who are in the twilight of their careers, but ready to give their careers one more push to win something in the MLS. Let's not forget that the MLS All-Star Game is one of the most watched games over during the summer. It always happens during the transfer window, and a lot of people follow it and anticipate, hugely anticipated clash. Sometimes people say it is a big friendly, an official friendly, but it is a match that American football fans look forward to at all times. All right, so the FIFA 2026 World Cup Best 11 as selected by fans was announced yesterday, and as expected, Vozina was the keeper that the fans chose ahead of Unai Simon, who kept 7 clean sheets. So sentiments won over rationality. But yeah, Vozina definitely deserves a place in the 11 if you ask me. Marco Corella was at left back, chosen at left back. Pedro Porro, also a Spaniard, chosen at right back. In central defense, David Upamecano and Lisandro Martinez, the butcher, who is currently injured, were chosen as central defensive partners. In midfield, Rodri, Golden Ball winner and player of the tournament, was selected there alongside Michael Olise and Jude Bellingham of England, highest goal scorer for England in a single World Cup tournament. Definitely he must be there. And in attack, the usual suspects: Lionel Messi, Erling Braut Haaland, who turned 26 2 days ago, as well as Kylian Mbappe, the highest goal scorer in World Cup history, highest goal scorer in the 2022 and 2026 World Cup tournaments, and the first player since Only three players had previously scored 10 or more goals in a World Cup tournament, and the Coxes did it in 1954 for Hungary. Let's not forget the mighty Magyars that also has Gunnar Nodal and Ferenc Puskás, the galloping major. Genda Bomba Muller did it also at the 1970 World Cup, and Just Fontaine also did it for France. So Kylian Mbappe has joined those great players, has become in becoming one of those guys who have scored 10 World Cup goals in a World Cup tournament. All right, so Kylian Mbappe altogether now has 22 World Cup goals, one ahead of Lionel Messi, who definitely has played his last World Cup game. So it remains for Kylian Mbappe to extend that record 4 years' time in Portugal, Morocco, and Spain. Talking about that 2030 centenary World Cup, 100 years of FIFA World Cup tournaments, Portugal and Morocco and Spain will co-host, but Morocco and Spain are slugging it out for who will host the final of the 2030 World Cup. Let's not forget that Spain, they have the Santiago Bernabeu. They are looking to rebuild it. That's for Real Madrid. They've got Camp Nou. They've got the Vanda Metropolitano. They've also got the La Ceramica, where Villarreal, the Yellow Submarine, currently play their home games. But Morocco, they've also had some structural upgrades in the last 5 or 6 years. Hosted so many women's Nations Cup tournaments, hosted the African men's tournament as well. So they're looking to build a 115,000 capacity stadium in Casablanca in order to sway FIFA into giving them the right to host the FIFA World Cup final in 2030. That will definitely be great for Africa. Let's not forget that in 2010, South Africa hosted the FIFA World Cup, and they hosted it successfully, even though the national team did not get past the group stages. But yeah, in terms of hosting, they did it very well. And yeah, they will definitely go down in history as one of the countries that have successfully hosted. And they did it solo as well. They didn't need to jointly host with anybody. All right. So Ibrahim Ba is going to Sporting. All right, all done from the sale for 20 million euros plus a 20% sell on clause. Bar was joining Strasbourg but didn't pass the medical. Now ready for Sporting as replacement for Ousmane Diomande. Ousmane Diomande actually is going to Nottingham Forest. All right, so the club to club agreement has been set at 40 million euros. So a 40 million euros package or Ousmane Diomande. Nottingham Forest getting one of the hottest prospects in world football at the moment. Fede Valverde, who turned 28 yesterday, has said that this season is gonna be time to win titles and make Madridistas happy again. They want the fans to be proud of them, according to Federico Valverde, who met Jose Mourinho, and they had a good chat. Definitely one of the leaders of the Real Madrid team at the moment, since the likes of Dani Carvajal have left for pastures new. So Fede Valverde will definitely be looking to lead Real Madrid in the coming season. Rodri is still waiting for that Florentino Perez green light in order to join Real Madrid. He has his heart set on joining Real Madrid. That's where his next destination might be if Florentino Perez finally decides to sign him. Well, Erling Chimeni has extended his contract at Real Madrid, but if Rodri goes there, he'll definitely be a starter, which will mean that Erling Chimeni and Eduardo Camavinga will languish on the bench or look for a new club. Camavinga has also emerged as one of the choices in midfield for Xabi Alonso and Chelsea. Let us see if that deal can be done as fast as possible. So we talked about Phil Foden, who has extended his contract till 2030 for at Manchester City, and he said he is happy there, even though some other clubs were interested in his signature. Real Madrid are ready to give the green light to Franco Mastantuono to leave on loan this summer to go into Fulham Craven Cottage, where Alvaro Arbeloa is the new man in charge, replacing Marco Silva, who went to replace Jose Mourinho at Benfica. Jose Mourinho replaced Alvaro Arbeloa at Real Madrid. So that was a managerial carousel there from between Benfica, Fulham, and Real Madrid. So, all right. Al Nassr are making progress in talks to sign Samu Costa. Negotiations moving to final stages with Mallorca and the players camp. So RCD Mallorca will be looking to lose Samu Costa to Al Nassr, who will be looking to replace the likes of Brozovic, who left Al Nassr to join a new club, of course, for a new challenge. Cuti Romero is looking to leave Tottenham this season. 100% certain that he is going to leave Tottenham this season. Of course, he was signed by Antonio Conte and has done very well at Tottenham, even though his reliability is in doubt because he's always prone to not injury, but red cards. Remember Paulo Montero of Juventus, who was a dependable defender, but was always getting red carded. And Sergio Ramos of Real Madrid also comes to mind. Let's not forget that as great as these guys are, they accumulated so many red cards in their careers. And Donny Iraola on McAllister's future, he has said that Alexis has been one of the best players at Liverpool for years. He has done very well at the World Cup, so it is normal for other clubs to want the best players. However, Liverpool will be looking to keep Alexis McAllister, who's done very, very well for Liverpool since he signed for them from Brighton. All right, so another big news is that Mark Van Bommel is the new coach of Belgium. Mark Van Bommel, I said it 2 days ago, one of my favorite players of all time, is definitely well, maybe qualified to manage Belgium, but sometimes we see that that transition from player to manager is not so easy. But as a player, he was definitely a great one. Let's see if he does well at Belgium. He's replacing Rudy Garcia, who left after Belgium exited in the quarterfinal of the World Cup, losing to eventual champion Spain. And Belgium remained the only country that put one past Spain at the World Cup. Charles de Ketelaere, who is wanted by PSG, of course, on the table of PSG. Let us see if PSG will finally sign Charles de Ketelaere from Atalanta, the only player to score against Spain in the FIFA 2026 World Cup. A very good header it was. All right, Christian Konato, signs new 5-year deal at AC Milan today, valid until June 2031. The midfielder seen as an important part of the future project under Ruben Amorim. So Ruben Amorim, we remember, is the new coach of AC Milan, and he has already convinced Luka Modric to sign a contract extension there. Rafael Leao, nobody's convincing him. He wants to leave AC Milan for a new challenge. Let us see which club will take that. It's not a risk. Let's see which club will be the new home of Rafael Leao. SC Braga submitted a new bid for Marcus Lindsay, worth €6 million, and add-ons included. The midfielder told Heroin he wants to move for a new chapter. Paraguay's Matthias Galaza can leave River Plate this summer after his performance at the World Cup. Getafe, Bologna, and Saudi Pro League clubs have all asked or have all made inquiries. All right, but as Galaza was very good for Albiroja and the World Cup. So when you do very well at the World Cup, I have said it here several times, you stand a chance to get an improved contract and a better club. Maybe better for you, but a new club. Raul Asensio could leave Real Madrid this summer after already discussing with Jose Mourinho. Since June, Mourinho gave him the green light to move. A permanent deal is on offer, a loan deal among the proposals that Real Madrid have gotten. So the doors are open for Raul Asensio, the young defender, to leave Real Madrid because Mourinho prefers experience. Ibrahim Konate has come, Denzel Dumfries has come, he's got Tony Rudiger, whose contract has been extended. There's also Dean Hudson there. He'll definitely be relying on these guys going forward. So Raul Asensio can leave alongside Gonzalo Garcia, who wants to go to Fulham to play under Alvaro Arbeloa. Of course, Madrid will include a buyback clause there, just like they did with Nico Paz, or a sell-on clause, as the case may be, because Madrid, they know the players who may shine. Of course, we remember that some of the young players who left Madrid, like Alvaro Morata, definitely had that buyback or sell-on clause inserted in their contracts. Toronto FC have agreed a deal to sign Niklas Dosh from Heidenheim. Here we go. All right, that's Fabrizio Romano's. Here we go. Fabrizio Romano has become a dependable transfer guru over the last couple of years after learning under Gianluca Di Marzio. All right, Aston Villa are progressing in talks to sign some other players who, after Garnacho deal has been sealed, Aston Villa looking to replace Morgan Rogers, £170 million to spend, to splash, but own the right players. After getting Yohan Manzambi and Alejandro Garnacho, they are also interested in other players. Stories are developing in that regard. All right. So Gavi has said he does not think that Argentine players should be suspended. That Argentina players actually played within the letter of the law, and some of the things that happened are part of football. So Gavi, of course, leaping to the defense of the Argentina players there. All right. So Malangsar has signed in as a Union SC player, official and confirmed. All right. So Morgan Rogers has said that Cole Palmer really texted him to convince him to move to Chelsea, other than Javi Alonso and the Chelsea hierarchy trying to convince him. Cole Palmer also texted him many times to join Chelsea. All right, let's see how that partnership thrives or succeeds at Chelsea. All right, looking at the way Javi Alonso is confident in Morgan Rogers, hope that confidence is repaid on the pitch. Morgan Rogers has said he's joining the biggest club in London. That's a slight dig at Arsenal, who are also a London club. So let us see if Morgan Rogers will do his talking on the pitch. It is easy because talk is cheap, actions are louder. So let us see if he is going to do very well on the pitch. Nicolo Zaniolo, one of those youngsters who thought was going to be maybe as great as Diego Maradona, has signed a new deal at Udinese today, valid until June 2029, plus option to a 2-year extension until 2031. That's an option after the deal. Huge work from the club to keep Zaniolo after his excellent first season. Zaniolo never missed training despite reports he's expected and called up for today's training at Udinese Calcio. Let's not forget that Udinese is where our very own Maduka Okoye plies his trade. The new Super Eagles #1. Of course, understand Celtic have reached an agreement with Mika Ball for on personal terms, club to club, ongoing with Pandemon. All right. So if that finally, if there is a headway there, he will definitely leave for Celtic. Will Landisha has signed his contract until June 2021 with Middlesbrough. £10 million fixed fee, £10 million add-on, and £20 million sell-on clause. All right, so so many players are jumping ship, moving for pastures new. The grasses aren't always greener on the other side, but only experience will tell you that nobody can actually convince you otherwise until you experience it yourself. So many players will tell you that after moving maybe to greater clubs, they didn't find it easy there. Anthony Taylor has retired from refereeing. All right, so professional officiating no longer Anthony Taylor thing. According to him, it has been an immense privilege managed to referee more than 600 matches. And according to him, officiating at elite level has been an immense privilege. But the pressure is intense and the scrutiny is consistent and constant. So the time is right to step aside. Always leave when the ovation is loudest. A lot of people do not understand that, but I was told that as a kid, always leave, never overstay your welcome. Always leave when the ovation is loudest. Okay, all right. So many the more Antonio Silva's move to Bournemouth has also been confirmed. These are people who did very well last season for their respective clubs. Benfica will let him leave in the next days as Antonio and his agent Jorge Mendes again have agreed with AFC Bournemouth. For AFC Bournemouth, Alex Scott is looking to leave. A £64 million offer was rejected. Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, all interested in the Bournemouth midfielder who wants to leave, but Bournemouth looking to hold out for a bigger amount. Of course, that's what always happens. I want to keep the player. That's not really what's on uppermost on their minds. They really need that transfer to be huge. So maybe 80-90 million will definitely convince Bournemouth to let Alex Scott leave. All right. So Barcelona have also sealed the agreement to sign Jesse Biseu from Club Brugge. All right. So clubs are now exchanging documents for the 18-year-old winger to join Barcelona. Understand that the fee is 8.5 million euros fixed plus 20% sell on clause. Deco Anderson de Souza is director of football at Barcelona. We remember him very well. Came second to Andrei Shevchenko in the 2004 Ballon d'Or listing, because many people felt that Deco was a shoo-in to win that award, but the Eastern Wind was chosen instead as the 2004 Ballon d'Or winner. QPR have signed Tariq Lamptey, which we announced 2 days ago, and which we're announcing again. So some tennis news before we call it a day today on Sports Grandeur on OJ 106.3 FM. All right, so some tennis news. Tennis is a big part of sports, so definitely wouldn't want us to stop talking about it. We'll have to update you guys on tennis news at every opportunity we get. We'll have to update you on tennis news. Serena and Venus Williams coming back to the US hardcore swing is definitely big news for everyone who is interested in tennis. All right, so Barbara Krejcikova has extended her win streak as well in the WTA. The Czech superstar and two-time Grand Slam winner is doing very, very well. As events have been played, she did very well at Wimbledon, even though she didn't get to the title match. Defeated the 2026 Roland Garros champion Mira Andreeva in that Wimbledon tournament. All right, so some other tennis news. The US hardcore swing is definitely in full flow. A lot of players are preparing for the US hardcore swing. Important for people, especially hardcore specialists such as Coco Gauff, Arina Sabalenka, Elena Rybakina, Amanda Anisimova, Jessica Pegula, and co. So let's see how these players will perform in the US hardcore swing, starting with DC, where Venus Williams will be playing doubles with Filipino Alexander Earl. All right, so there's the Prague Open round 2 today in Czech Republic. There's also the Generali Open in Kizilbel. The player withdrawals Fegi Oje Aliasim and Atoferi pulled out ahead of the upcoming ATP Washington Open. That's the DC Open that will have Venus and Alexander Earl playing doubles together. All right, so more tennis updates as we go. We said before that FAA has withdrawn from the Washington Open. All right, so A former Japanese professional tennis player who won a French Open mixed doubles titles has been a French Open mixed doubles title has been arrested on suspicion of defrauding a woman of 300,000 yen. That's $1,840 through social media. Rika Hiraki, a 54-year-old company employee from Chiba Prefecture, east of Tokyo, won the 1997 French Open mixed doubles title with Indian player Mahesh Bhupathi. She has denied the allegation, telling investigators she knows nothing about the matter, according to the Kochi Prefectural Police. But she has been arrested over social media fraud. Right. Well, it's still on suspicion. Still, allegation hasn't been substantiated. All right. So let us not be too worried about that. All right. So, anyways, Djokovic has said that it hurts now that he's not able to stand toe to toe with the likes of Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner because of his age. All right. Let's not forget that age catches up with everyone. Age caught up with Roger Federer, caught up with Rafael Nadal, and will definitely catch up with everybody, including Yannick and Carlos, who are definitely in the of course, the hottest periods of their careers. Yannick is in his mid 20s, Carlos Alcaraz in his early 20s, and they are doing very, very well. So, Rafael Nadal has also said that Carlos Alcaraz's return to tennis is good news for everyone, and that his wrist injury has fully healed. Hopefully, there will not be a reoccurrence of that, because the recurrent niggling knee injury, tendinitis, and everything else curtailed Rafael Nadal's career. So we do not want a repeat for someone like Carlos Alcaraz, who has won 7 Grand Slam titles already and is doing very well. His return to Cincinnati has already been, yeah, it's already official. He has pulled out of initial tournaments in order to rest the knee. That is the end of Sports Grandeur on OJ 106.3 FM Benin. My name is Ohis Eboreme. We'll be here tomorrow to give you more breaking news as they come to our notice. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.